The following is a presentation of KSL Sports. First and 12. A total roundup of this weekend's BYU football and the new look Big 12 Conference. First and 12 is sponsored by Macy's Grocery Store. Your hosts are Mitch Harper and Alex Kirry on KSL News Radio and the KSL Sports Zone.
Howdy, Big 12 fans. Coming to you from the great state of Texas.
Oh, you're in Texas for 5 seconds, and suddenly you're a Texan, Mitch Harper. How dare you?
Yeah, coming to you from Austin, Texas. Mitch Harper, Alex Kirry. Happy Sunday to all of you. First and 12, wherever you're listening, KSL News Radio, the KSL Sports Zone, the KSL Sports app, or the podcast. If you're listening on demand, we appreciate all of you tuning in every single week to get your weekly breakdown on the Big 12. We've got so much to unpack, Alex. I mean, this BYU-Texas game here in Austin that took place yesterday, and just another crazy week in this Big 12. We are just so lucky to have this show because so much great content to unpack every single week.
Every single week, and of course we start things out. You know I'm a Texan native. I was born in Austin. I'm a Travis County kid, man.
I know.
Now, that being said, I don't remember 1 second of when we lived in Austin. But you know what? I've been back a few times since, and I hope you were able to partake of some decent barbecue at least. Maybe you went for a nice run. Maybe you got snuck in like a half marathon on Saturday morning before the game. It seems a little bit like your vibe, right?
No, anything running, that is so not me. I am not
you
the
know those
TV
guys, though.
Broadcaster type that says, I did a hike up Y Mountain before the game. Like, no,
but
that
you know
is
what?
not me at all.
Hey, your co-host on Cougar Sports Saturday, I talked to Matt, and he goes, got to kayak down the Colorado River. I was like, dude, why do you have to keep Austin weird? You don't have to show up and keep Austin weird, bro. Come on.
Got some Terry's Black barbecue, so yeah, I
that's
good.
Yeah. That is good. You guys did it. Well, let's kick things off. It's our Big 12 headlines from another week in the conference. Let's jump to it.
12 headlines.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
The dozen storylines that shape this week of Big 12 football. Headline 1.
The Kansas Jayhawks. They get that big breakthrough win, defeating Oklahoma with Jason Bean at quarterback. KU is bowl eligible for the second consecutive year.
Yeah, and headline 2 is that Oklahoma is just like all those other teams with just one loss in conference, a bunch of 4-1 teams in conference right now at the top of the standings, and now you got work to do. You were controlling your own destiny if you were the Sooners, and you know that target's on your back. You are big time having people coming after you, and now you took that loss to Kansas. That's not one you planned, and you got a long rest of the schedule there too for Oklahoma. 4 more games, everybody else trying to knock you off of that thing too. So I can't imagine them getting out of this thing unscathed. We're going to have some tiebreakers to figure it out going forward. I think at the end of the season here, see who's going to play in Arlington.
Kansas making a great case to say that they're going to be a mainstay in this Big 12 in years to come. As headline number 3, one of those outgoing members, Texas, they just methodically took down BYU 35-6. We'll have a lot more on this game, but a tough setback for BYU.
Yeah, and that headline 4 is that BYU's offense is just, a massive question mark. Or maybe you have the answer for what they are, because you know what they are now. You know that they are not producing, and something drastic might have to change for that BYU offense to get things going. But, yeah, 6 points on the board and less than 300 yards of offense again for BYU for another time this season. It's been really, really hard for A-Rod's offense to get things going here.
Headline number 5, Kansas State continues to look like a defending Big 12 champ. 41-0 win over Houston. Will Howard got the start at quarterback, and he was really good. 15 of 17, 164, 2 touchdowns, no picks. K-State is rolling.
Yeah, and Houston had that nice game where they came out and almost did it against Texas at home. And then, losing 41-0, scoring 0 points for a Houston offense who has so many athletes, that's embarrassing. That's you guys on a massive hangover, not being able to figure out after you put all your eggs in your basket against Texas. And then Kansas State finding their footing while Houston just doesn't know who they are still in this league.
Number 7, West Virginia. They're one step closer to getting bowl eligible. Might be time to get that contract extension fired up for Neil Brown, who looked to be on the hot seat. They get a 41-28 win at UCF in Orlando. 5-3 are the Mountaineers.
Yeah, I thought it was super weird. Like, that's the game where I thought UCF would have taken a lot from last week against Oklahoma and gone, you know what, we almost beat the conference, the top dog in the conference. We've kind of figured some things out. We run the football really well. And John Rice Plumlee is our leader, but no such luck. I mean, at Orlando, it's crazy. UCF and Cincinnati, this is headline number 8. UCF and Cincinnati both winless in conference. That's a shock to me. I think Cincinnati is a head scratcher for sure, but UCF was supposed to be a team that we were talking about in the top 4 or 5, Mitch.
Yeah, everyone around the Big 12 media thought of the newcomers, UCF was the most ready to step in and have success. But, you know, when you throw 3 picks in a game like John Rice Plumlee did on Saturday, you're not going to win many ball games in this league. And just the struggles of that moving up from the AAC to the Big 12, it's a lot bigger jump than I think people realize. Number 9, Oklahoma State. They put the hammer down on Cincinnati. Ollie Gordon, another big game. This Cowboys team, man, they are getting hot at the right time. 6-2, bowl eligible. That's just what Mike Gundy does. He always gets to the postseason.
I mean, think about how weird that loss was to USA.
Oh, yeah.
USA. Think about how crazy that front end of the schedule was for the Cowboys, who we had in the very basement of the power rankings. And they're just shooting right up that list. We'll be able to talk about that next hour. Headline number 10, Iowa State, speaking of teams that are just absolutely outperforming, I think, what people's expectations were. The Cyclones are now in a 4-way tie at the top of the Big 12 standings. They're all 4-1, and man, the Cyclones, Mitch, continue to perform week in and week out. That suddenly is a scary game with them coming to Provo in a couple of weeks.
No question. And headline number 11, Baylor, who Iowa State defeated 30-18. Their offensive woes showed up once again. So those changes that AD Mac Rhodes asked for from the offense, it showed up for a week, but it came back down to earth. And, you know, Blake Shapen put up a lot of passes, so they delivered on that front. But their ground game is just non-existent, and that's where the heart of Baylor is, and it just hasn't been found, and that's why they are a team that's floundering down the stretch.
Last but not least, on our headlines here to start off the show on 1st and 12, the college football playoff rankings are coming out this week. I love it because now you kind of know what you have with these teams, and it gets more and more interesting. People are trying to, you know, jostle for that position, and you know, this is where the beginning of the season rankings matter, right? And right when Oklahoma thinks, all right, we might sneak in here at the front end, they lose, take their eye off the ball. That was probably the only chance of getting somebody in the top 4 or 5 maybe to be able to be in that college football playoff conversation. But yeah, top 10 wise, Mitch, what's it going to look like? Is Texas obviously as the number 7 team, they probably make a case of themselves to be right up there, but they got 1 loss already on the season. I don't know who the Big 12 is going to have in that top 10. I think that you probably see Oklahoma just outside the top 10, maybe at number 10. But you still have 4 weeks left, and certainly if you're in the top 10, you got a shot.
If there's any hope of the Big 12 producing a playoff team this year, they need to be in the top 7. But I'm with you. I think they're going to be left out. The only team that might be in that top 10 to me is Texas, because I feel like they're one of those playoff committee darling type teams.
For sure.
Computers might not like them, but I think that the committee, the coach will put his fist on the table and say, that's a good football team with the talent,
right.
The recruiting rankings. So there's maybe hope for Texas, but I think everyone else, Kansas State, Oklahoma, you're going to be outside the top 10 and be looking up and hoping to make a late season push to climb that thing.
You know exactly how that meeting goes. They're meeting at the Gaylord Hotel in DFW area. Everybody get together. Let's talk some football. Mark Harlan's on that committee now from the University of Utah. So I'm interested to see how this thing shakes out and how they start to kind of jostle with those teams. I love unveiling those. We'll unveil them as soon as they go live on JJ and Alex on Tuesday when those rankings happen. All right, let's jump to the second portion of the show. We're going to get out to this BYU and Texas breakdown. Mitch was in Texas. Mitch is still in Texas, but Mitch was at the stadium for this one yesterday, and it was a lot. It was a lot to consume, and there's so many things to talk about. Unfortunately, a lot of negatives for this BYU offense and this team overall, losing 35-6 against Texas in Austin. We'll come back. We got more to go. Stay right here all the way, rest of the way with First and 12 right here, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone and KSL News Radio.
Can't get enough BYU football? Listen to Cougar Nation. Mitch Harper takes your calls Monday nights from 6 to 7 on KSL News Radio. Podcast at kslnewsradio.com.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It is First and 12. Alex Kirry, Mitch Harper. Thanks for being with us. Our program, of course, airs every Sunday, 10 to noon, right here on KSL News Radio and the KSL Sports Zone 97.5. But also, you can download the podcast. Why don't you just do yourself a favor? Do what everybody does. The kids do it these days, Mitch. They listen to podcasts. That's how they stay up to date on sports and also just on anything else. It has anything to do with anything on the planet. That's how you can dial in and listen. So download the podcast, First and 12, every week. It's all brought to you by Macy's. Happy shopping. Mitch, BYU versus Texas. You're, of course, down there in Austin. You're still down there in Austin. Happy travels today back, by the way. But the loss, 35-6, could be a little bit – I don't want to be that guy that goes, yeah, the score made it look like it was worse than it really was. But that's the case. You and I both, we try not to go too far into anything before we actually get to talk about this on the program. But I thought Jay Hill's defense did a phenomenal job of holding off a very, very good Texas team all day. I think it was a massive victory at those goal lines to beat them on those fourth and shorts and on fourth and goal. I think on one of them, and 4th and 1, they could have still converted a first down. I mean, BYU was penetrating into the backfield. They had, I think, 7 TFLs and a sack. They were ready at the line of scrimmage for Texas. You can't say the same thing about the offense. They just looked horrendous today. Or
offense
yesterday.
Was bad once again. I mean, offense let BYU down again, and they go on the road and come into Texas, and it was just a no-show. And didn't help matters that L.J. Martin was out, and he's dealing with an injury. And it's interesting, last week, when asked about L.J. Martin in the postgame, Kalani kind of downplayed it and didn't think it was much of anything, and that's why Aiden Robbins closed out the game. Well, clearly it was something as he's now dealing with an injury and he's out. He did go through warm-ups, but still he would not have changed the outcome. BYU's offense has some serious issues, and they showed some moments where they were a little bit more aggressive going for it on 4th down, but there was just never any threat for Texas. And I think that was one of the reasons why Steve Sarkisian wanted Malik Murphy and that offense to go for it on 4th and 2s, even though they were up by 15 at 21-6. You felt like go for the field goal and it's going to be a 3-possession game. He just knew that BYU's offense was not a threat to go 98 yards, so might as well go for it and give Malik Murphy and that young offense some confidence. They couldn't do it. And credit to the BYU defense for stepping up and trying to show up and give the offense a chance. The takeaway from Crew Wakely, the forced fumble from Zay Banya, who showed up. I mean, we were talking on your show, JJ and Alex, on Friday, and that was a guy that said got to show up, and he did. And I think BYU defensively can build on of what they did, but offensively there's a lot of questions and not enough answers. And you're now heading into the final month of the season where you feel like, what do you turn to at this offense? Because I don't think they feel like there's anything of confidence right now heading into the final month.
Yeah, and I think that the reality has hit too that 5-3 is that's an okay record right now, but looming are 4 really, really tough games that, I mean, bottom line, you're not going to be favored in one of those, Mitch. I don't know. You tell me. I don't think that they're going to be favored in any of these games the rest of the way. I think the only Big 12 game they were favored in was that Cincinnati game, and it was, a -1, and Cincinnati has turned out not to be very good. I mean, it's going to be – they're going to be scratching and crawling for that 6th win, dude. Like, I don't know if BYU fans – I don't know if their hearts can take it, man, because it really – to get to 5-2 and honestly be looking at the rest of the schedule and go, I don't know how you're going to score enough points to be able to get to the spot where you can win a dang football game, even if you're at home. So it was wild, too. I will – what was it, a 9-minute – was it a 9-minute – drive in the 3rd quarter, and I thought this is very interesting because BYU hasn't done this all year, and they're doing it in Austin? Like, it seems strange. Something got figured out a little bit, at least with the run game in the second half. I don't know if they decided, hey, they're doing X, and so let's do Y. There was more of a push in the second half. And they were, I think before the 2 sacks in the second half, it ended up being, they got under the 100-yard mark overall, but I think they were at 108 total rushing before they got back under again with those sacks, which is just demoralizing. But they ran the ball a little bit more effectively than they have against other teams. No matter, though, the biggest thing, again, I mean, my heavens, 3rd downs, 2 for 13 on the day. They don't even crack 300 yards again. I mean, they have a hard time getting to 300 yards a game, Mitch. And at this point, this is your identity until we see otherwise. BYU's offense is just abysmal, and it's so embarrassing, I think, to have guys like Isaac Rex or Chase Roberts or Darius Lassiter, who had a nice game yesterday. You have all these dudes that can make plays for you, a massive back in Aiden Robbins, a flashy new guy, freshman in L.J. Martin, a veteran quarterback who's got over 11,000 yards passing, and you can't scrum together 300 yards on a weekly basis, and you scored 6 points again yesterday, and it just doesn't help your total. You're already well on your way to be at the very bottom of the conference in terms of the offense, but it's really the bottom of the country, and that's a head scratcher. And Kalani said it yesterday, and we'll hear a little bit of it next on his comments. But when he said, that's my buddy who's running the offense over there, I trust him. He was an old teammate of mine. It's starting to get real shaky, I think, for folks and Aaron Roderick.
It is, and Roderick deserves a lot of the blame, I think, right now. And you can also point some of the blame on Keaton Slovis, too. Should BYU have maybe just went with Jake Retzlaff to get a look? I think that with this game, Slovis gets a little bit of the benefit of the doubt because of the opponent. But I'm telling you, Alex, if these struggles continue against West Virginia, who we know following this league week in, week out has been pretty solid this season. But they're no Texas in terms of talent. So
no.
You got to perform, and now you're getting to the threshold too where, hey, 4 games for Jake Retzlaff, you can play him, and it's not going to hurt his eligibility. So Keaton Slovis is on notice too because the month of October was not pretty. He had 3 games. None of those games he ended up over 200 yards. So that has to improve the passing games, and it doesn't help matters when at the last 5 minutes or so of the game, Chase Roberts is being examined by trainers with a left hamstring, and it's just things are mounting up for BYU's offense. It's not going well. But the good thing is, as we talked about, the defense, I feel confident that they're a group that's going to at least get you 2 takeaways a game. And they did that yesterday, and I feel like they're going to continue to be an opportunistic group. Jay Hill has done an outstanding job with this defense. You look at some of the stats, too. 6 of 11 on 3rd downs for Texas. You want to improve that number,
great.
But still, I feel like there's a feeling of playmakers are emerging on the defense, and they can make big-time plays, which was something that wasn't happening the past few years. And I thought they rose the occasion in stretches against a Texas program that you would think would just maul BYU in the trenches, and that wasn't the case. And I feel like that's something you can definitely build on.
You tell me, but I watched Atunai Samaje have a really good game.
Yeah.
He was penetrating. He was getting off the ball, and it was like he knew, I got to show up. I got to get some penetration into the backfield here. And the whole D-line, I think, did a pretty darn good job. And it wasn't even just mixing up, creative stunts or anything like that. They were beating their guys, Mitch. It was really good. I do have to nitpick. I think one really underrated bad moment of the game for BYU that you look back and go coulda, woulda, shoulda was on Crew Wakely's interception when he gets down. I don't know where he ended up. I think it was at the 10. And when that flag came out,
10.
It was at the Texas 10, and you know where I'm going with this, but the Max Tooley illegal block, the crack block during the return, which was unnecessary because it was behind the play. I think he just is an aggressor, he just wants to get after dudes. It ended up putting BYU at their own 45, which was a death sentence. Especially knowing where that offense was. So then it became the defense gets demoralized. You turn over the ball, and your offense isn't going to move. You stop a 4th and goal, and you're going to be punting from the end zone in 2.5 minutes, right? That's demoralizing when you look up and it's 95 degrees on the sideline. You look up and you see Ryan Rico already punting in your own end zone where you just stopped the offense of Texas and you go, oh my gosh, we got to go back out there again, like immediately, So those are that was a play that was a positive and a huge negative, all wrapped up in one. It was a killer, and I think it was underrated in the moment because you're like, oh, nice takeaway for BYU. Oh, bummer, they're at their own 45. I remember looking and going, they're not moving anywhere past midfield.
That's so true, and I think another underrated thing from the game, Alex, that it's not a huge storyline, but it was just subtle when every yard mattered, was the return game decisions. Keelan Marion, Parker Kingston, kick returns and punt returns. They were returning the ball basically at the goal line. It's like, guys, you can just fair catch it, and you're going to go back to the 25. They would return it, and then they're starting at the 15. Decisions like that were just so costly for BYU in a game where those 10 yards are critical. It seems minimal, but it was just a big deal for BYU, and they got to get better from that. And, you'll hear from Kalani Sitake coming up next. We got to take a break. First and 12 brought to you by Macy's Grocery Store. Get the freshest fruits and vegetables from local farms and your favorite local brands. Macy's, happy shopping. How does Kalani react to this loss to Texas, 35-6? You'll hear from the head man next. It's First and 12 here on KSL News Radio and the KSL Sports Zone.
The following is a presentation of KSL Sports. First and 12. A total roundup of this weekend's BYU football and the new look Big 12 Conference. First and 12 is sponsored by Macy's Grocery Store. Your hosts are Mitch Harper and Alex Kirry on KSL News Radio and the KSL Sports Zone.
Happy Sunday to everyone. Coming to you from Austin, Texas. Mitch Harper, Alex Kirry. BYU falls in a tough one to the number 7 Texas Longhorns, 35-6. Head coach Kalani Sitake, well, he saw a lot of opportunities to close that margin, but far too many mistakes. Here's the head man, Kalani Sitake, after the game.
Okay, well, I'll start now. Just a real quick statement. Obviously not the outcome that we wanted. And I think if you look at it, the thing that stands out to me is there's missed opportunities that we had and all three phases, and inability for us to weather some things and then also to take advantage of opportunities that we had. But I hate saying that like we had everything to do with it, and I think you have to give a lot of credit to Texas and to Sark and his staff. They did a great job. It's a great team. There's a reason why they're still in the playoff contention talk, and they deserve to be in that. And it's a great team, and when you're playing against great teams, you can't make the amount of mistakes that we made, and hope to get a victory out of that. Now, I'm proud of the way our players played. They're tough. Our guys were resilient, but just missed opportunities and riddled with a lot of mistakes still. And that's my job as head coach is to handle all the mistakes, and I'll do a better job getting our guys ready. But I felt like we had such great prep going into this week, and even though you have great prep and you have plans on how things are going to go, you have to give credit to the great talent on the other side and the amazing coaching that they've done. You guys know how I feel about Sark. I know that all BYU faithful are going to cheer for him and wish him the best. He's a good friend of mine, and I just wish we could have given them more of a fight. More in the scoreboard. In terms of fighting, I thought the guys fought to the end and didn't ever give up. But I felt like Texas showed their identity at the end, just taking over, just relying on the run game, going to Brooks and just pounding the ball, and I think that was a good move for them, and we weren't able to make some plays, but we're going to build from this. I feel good about our team and our culture and where we're at. Obviously, the score is not going to indicate our identity. We're still building on things and trying to progress as a team, so I feel really good about that. I just got to do a better job getting our guys ready. But the guys will fight. They're obedient. They try to do everything we ask them to. And I just need to do a better job, get them in better position to have success in all three phases. So good luck to Texas. And it was an honor to be here. I thought their fans were amazing. What a cool venue and an amazing experience. This is my first time being here. And fans have treated us with respect. And we're good to us as much as you can to an opponent. And I thought it was a really good experience, other than the scoreboard. But thank you to Texas faithful and to their football team. I thought they represented really well. And it's an honor to be on this field, and looking forward to someday playing against them in the future. So I'll take any questions you guys have.
Talk about the defense after 2 stops inside the 5-yard line on 4th down, forced a fumble. able to give yourself a chance in the fourth quarter to come back.
Yeah, and I think we had some missed opportunities, but those guys just kept playing hard to the end, and I think that long run at the end just kind of left a little sour taste in the whole thing. But we were to create some turnovers, and but there's still a lot of mistakes. Against really good teams, you can't shoot yourself in the foot with some of the missed assignments that we had, and that's like I said, that's my job, get them better. But the guys fought hard, and again, you have to give credit to Texas. They're a difficult opponent. I've been saying that all week. When we see them on film, they just pop out the talent and the depth and the coaching. And you could tell that they have a really good culture within their system. I know a lot of those coaches on the staff, and you can tell this thing's starting to really build. And I think they're going to be, one of those teams that have a shot at the end. And knowing Sark the way I do, I'm going to wish them the best of luck and cheer for their success.
These special teams have just seem to be regressed. Why is that? And why is your kick returner returning the ball and only getting to the 15-yard line over and over?
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to fix. I guess I can't answer all that in one answer, but I got to do a better job. That's the easy answer. And our players try hard. They give us all their effort. Maybe we're not doing something right in terms of getting him in the right position. So that's my job. I'll get it right. I'll figure it out. But I can trust that the guys are going to give us their effort. And you're right. I think maybe sometimes in Texas they're able to. The kicker does a great job of pinning the ball and making things really difficult on the return. So you have to give them credit for that. And then their punt returner, I mean, what a great athlete. We've seen that before, and it was just one of those things that looked like a slow motion that he was able to just make guys miss, and then it was just over, and he was in the end zone, and that was a hard way to start the game. But the guys kept fighting back from it, and we created some turnovers. We had an opportunity to be in the red zone and had a penalty, bring it back. It's just little things like that got to teach our guys to be a little bit more disciplined, and that's my job. And so, yeah, we'll figure it all out. And from on the special team side of things, all three phases, we got to win at least two of them to have a chance. And if we can dominate and win all three, then we'll have the outcomes like what Texas did to us today.
At the end of that 9-minute drive in the second quarter, you're down at the 2. Why did you elect to go for a field goal there? And was there something like you didn't line up? Like, what kind of happened there?
Yeah, we had a breakdown in the communication and getting the play that we wanted to set up. And then in that angle, it was just like, okay, we kick the field goal or do we get some points and get some positive things from it? And easier to get the delay game, back it up, and have a better angle at the kick. I don't know. I felt like we were going for it so many times. Let's just keep it going and see if we can punch it in. But we'll evaluate all those things. That's on coaches. That's on the players. That's on me and our staff.
Was the offensive staff aware of the back-to-back timeout rule that's new this year?
That was my fault. That wasn't on them. Yeah, we didn't have things set up, and I think the goal was to try to maybe draw them off sides, get a little bit closer, so we have. They're such a good front. They're so big, and it's just you just can't assume that you're going to just make easy yards by punching it in. But at least it gives us more options when we're a yard closer, even if it's half the distance. And so we were thinking about doing that, but the clock was with the new rules. The clock goes so much faster, and that's my fault. I got to get these guys right, and then I didn't think about it before. So that's one of those new rules that we got to be adjusted to. And normally we're reminded of it, and our guys on the sideline remind me of it, but that was my fault.
Kalani, we talked about how this is a game of inches.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 2-score game, third down, and Darius comes open, and the ball's maybe an inch high. He's made some great catches and just glances off his fingers, sets them up for kind of the TD to put it away. When you have one of those moments that's that close, what's the response? What do you do as a coach?
You learn from it, and you look at the situations and where you can learn from it and get better. And I think adversity is a great teacher for us, and so whether we win or lose, I want our guys to keep progressing and learning. That's my job, but I want our coaches and myself to keep learning too, and we'll learn from this. It's a tough lesson, but sometimes school of hard knocks is a great teacher, so I'm okay with it.
Do you feel like your team made progress today in some areas, and if so?
I do. I do felt like we made some progress, and I the one thing I can count on is that I told you that their effort's there, the energy's there, the fans were amazing. Our fans showed up all over the place, and they're spread out throughout the stadium. But man, just just thankful for them. And so I think there's a lot of really good things that happened here. We just got to be better on the field, but there's a lot of things to be thankful for. I'm grateful I get to coach this team and that we have a wonderful fan base, and great that we had an opportunity to, against a great opposing team, and then it's led by my teammate and a former Cougar, and so I'm really proud of them. But we could do some things better, and we plan on learning from it and getting better from this. And we'll lift our chins up and get better and find it to do it with a positive attitude. I believe in these guys, and there's still a lot more to play for.
Mitch, was that you asking Kalani that aggressive question about the quarterback spark? Were you in there getting in there? Did you get Kalani a little grumpy at you during the presser there? Hey,
he did get a little grumpy at me.
He's like, hey,
good, though.
You know what? He's getting some pressure back there. You can't help it. He's got, sure. Throw Jake Retzlaff in there, but he's got no time to throw. I get it. I mean, everybody was frustrated, and I get trying to defend Keaton because there are moments, but I mean, there were also a couple of throws right at the beginning of the game too that were almost straight into the arms of defenders. And, they lose the turnover battle this week 3-2. When your defense was able to get those two against Texas, the very least you can do is just hold pat and don't turn the ball over. That's a huge one for them. But massive deal for Kalani. And I do hope that they match up again against Texas at some point in the future, because it would mean it would be in a pretty big game situation or a nice bowl. So there you go. All right, we'll take a break here. We'll come back, talk about our featured game of the week. And it was a dandy in Lawrence. Yes, the Kansas Jayhawks pulling off the upset over the Oklahoma Sooners. We'll have that next right here with you, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone and KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM. It is 1st and 12.
Read all the stories about BYU sports no one else has heard. Go to KSLSports.com for exclusive columns by BYU insider Mitch Harper. That's KSLSports.com.
Welcome back, everybody. It is 1st and 12 right here with you, KSL News Radio. Also on the KSL Sports Zone every Sunday, Mitch Harper and myself, Alex Kirry. We break down our Big 12 weekend that was, everything that kind of came out of the conference, and we're getting a little bit more of a focused look at what the conference is becoming. And I'll tell you what it's becoming is you got teams who are figuring themselves out. You have other teams that are falling way off, some teams that just can't decide in the middle. And then at the very, very top, our game of the week, of course, was Oklahoma visiting Kansas, and that's what it ended up being. And it ended up being an upset, and they threw the goalposts into the river, Mitch. So that's the end of it. They don't have goalposts anymore in Kansas. They get the win over Oklahoma 38-33. And you know what? It was a back and forth. It was exactly what you wanted out of these two teams. And, man, how about Bean coming in and saying you don't need the Big 12 preseason conference player of the year under center. I'll take care of this whole thing for you. I loved to see Kansas beat Oklahoma, even if it does make the top of the conference an absolute mess.
It does, and Kansas ends an 18-game losing streak to Oklahoma. You got to go back to 1997, the second year of the Big 12 conference, to see Kansas beating OU, and to do it on the year where OU's heading out the door, going to the SEC. What a parting shot for Kansas, giving Oklahoma a loss. I mean, because these two, oddly enough, you don't think of it because of the massive gap between programs, but these are old rivals that have played for more than 115 times, and Kansas hands them an L. And I think that's pretty big deal for Kansas, and they get bowl eligibility again for the second consecutive year in this win. So such a big win for Kansas, and to do it, too, with Jason Bean, because there's been rumblings, and it feels like so many people have been wondering, kind of similar to, it reminds me of the Cam Rising situation at Utah when that was a mystery. What's going on with Jalen Daniels? Is he just sitting out? Does he want to just stay sidelined? Is he bracing to move on? But, Jason Bean just steps in, continues to be the guy for KU, and he got this offense humming, and they've always had this ability to be this high-powered offense, and they showed it. And on the downside, Oklahoma, some of their downfalls on the defensive side reared its ugly face again, and that's going to be something where they have to fix going forward down the stretch run.
It's wild because it's a little bit like Texas, too, where you walk onto a field against Texas, you know who the better athletes are. Like, you see them, and you know who the big names are, and it was the case yesterday with Texas. But at the same time, you can match up. If you scheme these guys, you'll be able to get them. I mean, UCF, they were this close last week down in Norman. And so Kansas to say, no, we're going to stick in there with a backup quarterback. We're going to have a game plan. And you know what he didn't do? He didn't throw the ball all over the place. He was, very middle of the road when it came to throwing the football, including throwing a couple of picks. But they just, to get almost 450 yards of offense, Brent Venables, he's a defense guy. Right? This is supposed to be somebody who – is supposed to have that kind of toughness that he brought with him from Clemson, and they just have not been that defense yet. That I think that they were hoping they were going. Certainly they've improved, but like you said, they've reared their ugly heads quite a few times down the road. But it's made it for a mess. You look at the conference standings, and you have a handful of teams now who are 4-1, including your Kansas State, who we sort of wrote off for a minute, right? And, how about freaking Iowa State, Mitch? I don't know what to say about the Cyclones. I don't know what to say about, Texas and Oklahoma are exactly where they're supposed to be. I'll say, too, when they had it, you tell me you were at the stadium yesterday, but when they showed the Oklahoma score on the board at the stadium, the players reacted on the sidelines on TV. And I think that they were also like, let's go. There's a window open here. We're going to jump through it if Oklahoma just crapped the bed, and they did. And that probably helped a little bit of the situation, too, where they go, all right, buckle down. We can't lose to BYU. Because it was pretty early. It was in the first half. It wasn't it was, 20 minutes into the game. So, yeah, it was a big win for Kansas. I think it's cool for them, and it's a program, builder. And Lance Leipold, you're behind the eight ball already when you come in to coach football at Kansas. But he's done a great job with them so far this year, especially knowing that Jalen Daniels has been out so much. So, all right, let's take the break here. We'll come back next hour. We have tons. Our second hour, of course, always features our Big 12 Power Rankings that is, starting to take some shape here. Now that we didn't know anything. We still don't. But week 9, now into the year, hopefully you know a little bit more. We'll come back. Our program, as always, brought to you by Macy's. Happy shopping. We're going to take that break here. We'll come back. It's First and 12. Alex, Kirry, Mitch Harper. Stay right here with us.